Women do not like men. And the reason that most women don't like men is because these men try to hold them accountable and don't let them play the victim.
What if I told you that the biggest lie ever sold to men in the last 50 years wasn't about money, power, or success, but about something far more personal? What if I told you that the vast majority of women walking this planet today do not actually love men, do not even genuinely like men, and never will, no matter how perfect you become? And what if I proved to you by the end of this video that once men finally saw this truth clearly, millions of us simply walked away, found peace we never knew existed, and now we are never, ever coming back? Stick around until the very last minute because I'm going to show you exactly why the game is over, why women are panicking, and why men have finally won by refusing to play at all. If you are new here or you have been riding with me for a while, do me a solid right now. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, click the notification bell, and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We are building something real here, and I want you in the trenches with us. Also, if you are serious about protecting everything you work for and actually growing real wealth in this chaotic world, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. The full academy is linked in the description below. You will learn step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, safeguard your assets so nobody can ever take them from you. Click that link and get yourself protected today. And if these videos are hitting home, if they are waking you up or just keeping you sane in this madness, consider buying me a Red Bull. There is a link in the description. Everything keeps the lights on and the truth coming. Now let's get into it. Men have finally realized the dark truth about women. And once that truth hit, everything changed forever. I'm not talking about some surface level complaint or some temporary frustration. I'm talking about a bone deep, life altering revelation that flipped the script on every relationship, every marriage, every date, every interaction men ever had with women. And that truth is brutally simple: women do not love men. They do not even like men. What they love is the fantasy man they build inside their own heads. A perfect, ever shifting, imaginary boyfriend who changes every week to match whatever mood, whatever TikTok trend, whatever new standard they discovered on a podcast that day. And no real flesh and blood man can ever measure up to that imaginary guy, because the second you get close, she tweaks the fantasy again, and suddenly you are falling short all over. Think about that for a second. You can be the hardest working, most loyal, most providing man on the planet, and it will never be enough, because the goalposts are not just moving, they are on rocket skates being dragged by her emotions. One day she wants you strong and silent. The next day she wants you emotionally available and crying with her over a Netflix show. One day she wants you to lead. The next day leading is toxic masculinity. One day she wants you to pay for everything because that makes her feel provided for. The next day, paying for everything is patriarchal control. You're not dealing with a partner. You're dealing with a director who keeps rewriting the script after you already learned your lines. And if you miss a cue, she calls you trash and wonders why men are failing. And the worst part, the part that really stings once you see it, is that she does not even realize she is doing it. She genuinely believes she is in love with you when things are good. But the moment reality creeps in, the moment you show any human flaw, the fantasy cracks. And suddenly you are the problem. You are never loved for who you are. You are only tolerated for how well you performed the role she cast you in this week. That is not love, brothers. That is auditioning for a part you can never permanently land. For decades, men tried. We really did. We bent, we adjusted, read the books, went to the seminars, learned the love languages, became the evolved man they kept demanding. And what did we get in return? More demands, more criticism, more articles about how we were still failing, more lectures about how our very nature was the issue. 50 years of feminism told men we were not needed, that we were toxic, that simply existing with testosterone was some kind of original sin. They invented words like manspreading to shame us for sitting comfortably on a subway. They turned divorce courts into wealth extraction machines that bleed men dry for decades after the relationship ends. They cheered when boys were drugged in school for acting like boys. And still, men kept showing up, kept providing, kept protecting, kept trying to be what women said they wanted. But something happened along the way. Men started listening, really listening, not to the words women were saying, because those changed with the wind, but to the actions. And the actions told a completely different story. The actions said, use him, extract from him, blame him, replace him the moment a better fantasy walks by. The action said, record him in public to shame him for daring to exist. The action said, accuse first, evidence later. The action said, take half his wealth, take his children, take his peace, and then cry victim when he finally breaks. And one by one, men woke up. Not with anger at first, although anger came later for many of us, but with clarity. Cold, sharp, life-changing clarity. We looked around and realized we were standing in a burning building that we ourselves had been tricked into keeping on fire just to keep someone else warm. And instead of grabbing another log to throw on the flames, we simply walked out the door, sat down in the grass, and watched the whole thing collapse while we finally breathed. That is what men walking away. That is the movement nobody saw coming because they were too busy calling us weak for having boundaries. Millions of men, maybe tens of millions by now, looked at the deal being offered, looked at the fine print that says, you will never be enough and you will be punished for trying anyway. And we collectively said no, not a loud no, not a dramatic no, just a quiet, firm, permanent no. And then we left the table. Women did not expect that. They genuinely believed men would keep coming back no matter how bad it got because that is what we had always done. Generation after generation, men absorbed the punches, paid the bills, took the blame, and came back for more because society told us that is what real men do. But something changed in this generation. We gained access to information. We could see millions of men telling the exact same stories we were living. We could watch courtroom footage, read the TikToks, the secret recordings, the Cash App bios, the are we dating the same guy groups where women trade notes on how to destroy men they barely know. And pattern recognition is undefeated, gentlemen. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So men stopped approaching, stopped dating, stopped simping, stopped sending money to random women online, stopped paying for first dates with women who already decided they were not sleeping with us, stopped arguing with women who only wanted to fight for dopamine hits, stopped trying to save women who proudly declared they did not need saving. We just stopped. And in that stopping, we found something we had never been allowed to have before: peace. Real peace. The kind that does not depend on someone else's mood. The kind that does not vanish the moment she decides you looked at her the wrong way. The kind that lets you sleep through the night without wondering which version of yourself you need to be tomorrow to avoid a blowup. Men discovered that being alone is not the same as being lonely. And once we made that distinction, everything changed. You see, women have spent years telling men, I am the table. Fine, keep the table. I will sit on the floor and eat in peace. Because here is the secret nobody wanted men to figure out. We do not actually need the chaos. We never did. Men are minimalist by nature. Give us a safe place to lay our head, some good food, a way to make money, and a couple hobbies, and we are content for life. Women need constant stimulation, constant validation, constant newness. Men need peace. And for the first time in modern history, men are choosing peace over performance. Every day now, you see the proof. Women on TikTok making videos asking where all the good men went. Women wondering why men will not approach them at the gym, even when they are wearing painted on leggings and a sports bra 2 sizes too small. Women complaining that men only want to hang out at their apartment instead of taking them to expensive restaurants. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Women shocked that men are no longer willing to risk false accusations just to say hello. The irony is delicious. The same women who spent years screaming, "Do not talk to me, do not look at me, do not approach me," are now furious that men finally listen. And the best part? Men are not angry anymore. That is what scares them the most. We are not raging. We are not begging. We are not trying to fix anything. We are just gone. We are in our apartments playing Call of Duty or Elden Ring, lifting weights in our garage gyms, building businesses in silence, stacking crypto, reading books, getting closer to God, and sleeping like babies. We are living lives of quiet luxury on half the income we used to burn, trying to keep a woman happy. And we are happier than we have ever been. Women pushed and pushed and pushed until the rope snapped, and instead of snapping toward them in rage, it snapped back and launched men into freedom. They never saw that coming. They thought we would grovel. They thought we would bargain. They thought society could shame us into returning. But shame only works on men who still care what women think. And brother, we do not. The panic is setting in now. You can feel it in every corner of the internet. Women are making those tear streaked videos under ring lights, asking the camera with genuine confusion why men are not lining up to save them anymore. They are posting statistics about how birth rates are collapsing and acting like it is some mysterious plague instead of the most predictable consequence in human history. They are writing think pieces titled The End of Men, while completely missing the point that men did not end. We just stopped participating in a system that only punished us for showing up. And the coping mechanisms are hilarious if they were not so pathetic. First came the denial. Men are just intimidated by strong women. Then came the bargaining. If you just communicate better, if you just go to therapy, if you just become a feminist ally, maybe we will let you back in. Then came the anger. Men are immature, men are weak, men are afraid of equality. And now we are deep into the depression stage. Thousands of videos every single day of women openly weeping that they cannot find a good man, that dating apps are empty of quality options, that nobody wants to commit, that nobody wants to pay for dates, that nobody wants to be a stepdaddy to 3 kids from 3 different fathers. They are living the reality they created, and it is colder and lonelier than they ever imagined. Meanwhile, the men who walked away are not crying laughing. We are not crying from sadness. We are crying from relief. Because for the first time in our adult lives, our bank accounts are growing instead of bleeding out. Our weekends are ours. Our peace is untouched. Our sleep is deep. Our stress levels are almost non existent. As so we wake up on Saturday morning and the same person we were when we went to bed on Friday night. No surprise fights, no surprise expenses, no surprise accusations, no surprise therapy bills because she watched another podcast about how everything is trauma. Just silence, coffee, sunlight through the window, and the quiet knowledge that today is going to be a good day because nobody else gets to ruin it. That is the luxury women never understood. They thought luxury was designer bags and 5-star restaurants and a man who would move mountains to keep her happy. But real luxury for a man is control over his own time, his own money, and his own emotional state. And once a man tastes that, there is no going back. You cannot pay him enough. You cannot guilt him enough. You cannot shame him enough to return to the plantation. The chains are off, the blinders are off, and the door is locked from the inside. Let me paint you a picture of what the average walked away man's life looks like right now, because the contrast is so stark, it almost feels like satire. He wakes up at whatever time his body naturally wants to wake up. No screaming kids at 6 a.m. because he never signed up for that package deal. He brews his own coffee for 50 cents instead of spending $9 at Starbucks to impress a woman who is never going to sleep with him anyway. He goes to the gym he built in his garage or the cheap membership he actually uses, and nobody there is recording him for TikTok clout. He lifts heavy. He listens to his own music. He leaves without drama free. Then he comes home, showers, and sits down to work on the business he is building in peace. Maybe it is day trading. Maybe it is e commerce. Maybe it is learning code. Maybe it is creating content like this. Whatever it is, every dollar he earns stays in his pocket instead of being funneled into her lifestyle, her vacations, her nails, her friends' bachelorette parties in Tulum. When he is done working, he plays video games for 3 hours straight if he wants to, and nobody calls him immature. He eats steak. He cooked himself for $15 instead of dropping 350 at a restaurant so she can take pictures for Instagram and then complain the entire time that the vibe was off. At night, he reads or watches a movie or talks to his real friends on Discord, men who actually care about him and do not keep score of what he provides. He goes to bed early or late, whatever his body wants, and sleeps 8, 9, 10 hours without someone next to him stealing the covers or getting mad that he snores. His phone is quiet. No 2 a.m. texts asking where he is and who he is with. No passive aggressive memes. No sudden emergencies that always seem to require his wallet. Just peace. Deep, uninterrupted, glorious peace. And on the weekends, he might take a solo trip to the mountains or the beach. He might go fishing. He might just sit on his balcony with a cigar and watch the sunset. Whatever he does it because he wants to, not because someone else will punish him with silence or tears if he does not. That is freedom. That is the real red pill luxury that no amount of money could buy 10 years ago. Because back then, we were still trapped in the matrix of performance. Women are now discovering what happens when the human ATM, the emotional punching bag, the free therapist, the handyman, the driver, the planner, the provider, the protector, and the scapegoat all walk away at the same time. Suddenly, rent is hard. Suddenly, groceries are expensive. Suddenly, nobody is offering to fix the leaking faucet for free. Suddenly, dating apps are full of other women who also want a man to pay for everything. Suddenly, the government checks are not stretching like they used to. Suddenly, the strong, independent boss, babe energy, only pays the bills when there is a man quietly subsidizing everything behind the scenes. And now that man is gone. I want you to really let this next part sink in, because it is the part nobody wants to say out loud. Men did not leave because we lost. Men left because we won. We won the moment we realized the game was rigged from the start, and the only way to win was to stop playing. Every man who walks away is a walking victory lap. Every man who keeps his paycheck, his peace, and his purpose intact is living proof that the threat of female disapproval is powerless once you stop caring about female approval. That is why the shaming language no longer works. Call us losers, call us virgins, call us weak, call us whatever you want. We are too busy enjoying the best years of our lives to care. Your words only sting if we still want something from you. And brother, we do not want anything from you anymore. Not your time, not your body, not your validation, not your drama, not your chaos, nothing. The price is too high, the reward too low, the risk too severe. We are out. And here is the part that keeps women up at night. This is not a phase. This is not men throwing a tantrum until women apologize. There will be no grand return. There will be no white knight army riding in to save the day. The men who walked away are building lives so comfortable, so peaceful, so fulfilling without women that coming back would feel like volunteering to go back to prison after tasting freedom. Why would any sane man trade 8 hours of deep sleep for 8 hours of walking on eggshells? Why would any sane man trade a full bank account for one that is drained every month to keep someone else happy? Why would any sane man trade the respect of other men for the conditional tolerance of a woman who will leave the moment a taller, richer, more dangerous guy slides into her DMs? The answer is he would not, and he will not, ever. Women gambled everything on the belief that male thirst and male provider instinct was infinite, that no matter how badly they treated men, no matter how many laws they passed against us, no matter how much they insulted and degraded us, we would keep showing up because biology forced us to. They bet the entire farm on the idea that men could never walk away. And they lost spectacularly. The thirst is gone. The provider instinct has been redirected to the only person who actually deserves it, ourselves. Now women are left holding a bag of cats and a stack of bills, wondering why the world suddenly got so hard. And the answer is simple. You told men to leave, you punished men for staying, you made the cost of being with you higher than the benefit, and men, being rational creatures when we are not blinded by propaganda or desperation, did the math and chose the obvious winning move. Every day, another 1,000 men wake up to this reality. Every day, another 1,000 men cancel the dating apps, close the Cash App, stop replying to the haze with no effort, stop planning expensive dates, stop trying to fix broken women, stop caring about being called bitter or misogynist or whatever new word they invent this week. Every day, another 1,000 men join the greatest quiet revolution in modern history, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop it, because you cannot force a man to care when he has discovered he is infinitely happier not caring. That is the new reality. Men are not hiding. We are not scared. We are not broken. We are thriving. Quietly, calmly, relentlessly thriving. And the louder women scream about where have all the good men gone, the deeper we sink into the comfort we built for ourselves and only ourselves. We are not coming back. We are not negotiating. We are not begging for better terms. We are gone. And every last one of us who saw the truth, we are gone for good. And the peace we found on the other side is so sweet that wild horses could not drag us back into the chaos we escaped. The collapse is happening in slow motion, and it is beautiful to watch once you understand what you are actually seeing. It is not men failing, it is the entire social contract that was built on male sacrifice finally crumbling under its own weight. For 70 years, women were sold the fantasy that they could have it all: the career, the independence, the children, the lifestyle, the endless options, and a loyal, high earning, emotionally available, tall, handsome, dangerous, but safe man who would pay for everything while never asking for anything in return except gratitude. And for a while, it almost worked, because men were raised from birth to believe that our value was tied to how much we could provide and how much punishment we could absorb while still smiling. But that contract always had an expiration date. It was always unsustainable. It only worked as long as men remained asleep, as long as men kept believing the Disney lies, the Hollywood scripts, the church sermons, the motherly advice that told us if we just worked harder, earned more, listened better, cried more, became the perfect mix of provider and therapist and handyman and stud, then one day a good woman would finally love us for who we are. We chased that carrot for decades. And every time we got close, the carrot moved farther away and the stick hit us harder. Then the internet happened. Red pill forums happened. Millions of men telling the exact same stories in different cities, different countries, different decades. The pattern became impossible to ignore. The courtroom horror stories, secret recordings of women laughing about how they destroyed their exes, screenshots of Cash App requests 5 minutes after matching on Tinder, body cam footage of false accusations, paternity fraud confessions, the "are we dating the same guy" groups where women brag about weaponizing the legal system. All of it laid bare in real time. And once enough men saw enough stories, the spell broke. You cannot unsee the matrix once your eyes are open. You cannot go back to swallowing the blue pill fairy tales when you have watched 10,000 men in real time describe the exact same betrayal you just lived through. The jig was up, the illusion shattered, and instead of getting angry and trying to burn the system down, men did something far more devastating. We simply stopped feeding it. We stopped feeding it with our attention. We stopped feeding it with our money. We stopped feeding it with our emotional labor. We stopped feeding it with our very presence. And a system that was built entirely on male input with zero genuine female gratitude cannot survive when the input valve gets turned off. It starves quickly. That is where we are right now. The system is starving, and women are feeling the hunger pains for the first time in their lives. They are discovering that independence feels a lot different when there is no longer a man quietly paying half the rent, covering the groceries, fixing the car, carrying the heavy boxes, killing the spiders, and absorbing all the emotional shrapnel so she can remain the fun one. Independence is easy when someone else is subsidizing it. Independence is brutal when you actually have to live it. And the panic videos keep coming. I make 6 figures and men still won't commit. I'm a 10 and guys only want to chill at the house. Why won't men take me on real dates anymore? Where are all the providers? The irony is thicker than concrete. The same women who spent the last 20 years screaming that they don't need a man, that they are the prize, that men have to earn access to them, that paying for a date is basic, that expecting intimacy after dinner is entitlement. Those same women are now furious that men finally believe them. Yeah, we believed you. We really did. You said you were strong and independent. Cool, be strong and independent. You said you bring the table. Great, sit at it by yourself. You said a man has to have this height, this income, this degree, this car, this vibe, this emotional availability score of 97 out of 100, or he is dust. Perfect. Enjoy dating the top 3% while the rest of us thrive without the headache. You said, do not approach me, do not look at me, do not speak to me unless I give you a clear signal. Message received. We will never approach, look, or speak again. You won. Congratulations. The mental gymnastics now are Olympic gold medal level. Women are rewriting history in real time. Suddenly, the men who pay for everything are bare minimum. Suddenly, the men who plan elaborate dates are love bombing. Suddenly, the men who walk away are emotionally unavailable instead of rational human beings who refuse to set themselves on fire to keep someone else warm. Suddenly, the same women who said, I don't need a man, are posting crying videos about how men have abandoned society. And the cope just keeps getting wilder. They tell each other that all the good men are taken. They are not. We just stopped advertising. They say men are intimidated by successful women. We are not intimidated. We are uninterested. They say men only want traditional women now. Correct, because traditional women do not punish men for being men. They say the dating market is broken. The market is working perfectly. Supply simply responded to demand, and the demand for entitled chaos is at an all-time low. But the one coping mechanism that reveals everything is the sudden obsession with high-value men. Every other video now is about how to attract a high-value man, how to keep a high-value man, how to become worthy of a high-value man. And what is a high-value man in 2025? He is 6 foot plus, makes multiple 6 figures or 7, emotionally available but not weak, strong but not toxic, pays for everything but never uses money to control, leads but never dominates, has options but chooses only her, never watches adult content, never glances at another woman, never gets angry, never needs space, and worships the ground she walks on while she keeps her Instagram full of thirst traps and her body count vague. In other words, the same fantasy man they have always demanded, except now they are admitting out loud that only a tiny percentage of men qualify. And those men have endless choices, so good luck competing with 25-year-old fitness models who do not come with 3 kids and an attitude. Here's the part they will never say on camera. The men they call high value are the ones actually living the peaceful luxury life I described earlier, are the exact same men who have walked away the hardest. Those men are not lining up to save aging single mothers from the consequences of their own choices. Those men are not fighting over women who spent their prime years chasing excitement and now want stability on expert mode. Those men are enjoying their money, their freedom, their hobbies, and their peace so much that the idea of adding a Western woman to the equation feels like voluntarily signing up for a second job that pays in drama and criticism. The dating market has split into two parallel universes that will never intersect again. In one universe, you have men who figured it out, men who are calm, financially secure, physically healthy, spiritually grounded, and completely uninterested in modern dating. In the other universe, you have women who still believe the rules did not change, still believe male desperation is infinite, still believe they can act like celebrities while offering nothing but attitude and demands. And between those two universes is a canyon so wide that no bridge will ever be built across it again. That canyon is growing every single day. Every time a man deletes the dating apps and never reinstalls them, the canyon gets wider. Every time a man turns down a date with a single mother, the canyon gets wider. Every time a man says, I'm good, when asked why he is single and smiles like he knows something the rest of the world has not figured out yet, the canyon gets wider. Every time a man spends the money he used to spend on women, on crypto, guns, land, tools, travel, or just stacking it in peace, the canyon gets wider. And nothing can close that canyon now. No amount of crying videos, no amount of shaming articles, no amount of new laws, no amount of passport bros guilt trips, no amount of real men do this lectures. The men on the other side of the canyon are not angry enough to come back and fight. We are too happy. We are too comfortable. We are too free. And freedom, once tasted, is addictive. Women are now living the consequences of winning every single argument for the last 50 years. They won the right to sleep around without judgment, and now men do not want to commit to them. They won the right to divorce for cash and prizes, and now men will not get married. They won the right to accuse without evidence, and now men will not risk approaching. They won the right to weaponize therapy language, and now men will not open up. They won the right to demand provision while offering nothing tangible in return, and now men keep the provision for themselves. Be careful what you fight for, because you just might get it all and then discover that all of it was built on the backs of men who are no longer willing to carry the load anymore. The era of male sacrifice is over. The era of male performance is over. The era of chasing female approval is over. We are in the era of male peace, and it is the most powerful silent revolution the world has ever seen. The most delicious part of all of this, the part that almost brings a tear to my eye when I really sit and think about it, is how perfectly the tables have turned without a single punch being thrown. Women spent half a century telling men in a million different ways that our presence was the problem, that our instincts were the problem, that our protection was the problem, that our provision was the problem, that our very existence in traditional form was the problem. And now, in the span of less than 10 years, millions of us simply agreed with them and removed the problem. We removed ourselves. And in doing so, we removed every single thing they secretly depended on while loudly claiming they didn't need it. That is poetic justice on a scale that historians will study for the next 100 years. The dog finally caught the car, and the car turned out to be the only thing keeping the dog fed, sheltered, and safe. Now the dog is standing in the middle of the highway, barking at the taillights disappearing over the horizon, wondering why it suddenly got so cold and dark. Every day, another headline drops that accidentally tells the truth. Women are out earning men, but still want men who earn more. Birth rates hit record lows as women delay motherhood. Single women own more homes than single men for the first time ever. Dating apps report men are swiping 80% less than 5 years ago. Mental health crisis among young women reaches unprecedented levels. Each one of those headlines is a tombstone on the grave of the feminist utopia they promised us all. They are not mysteries. They are the predictable mathematical outcome of telling half the population they are worthless oppressors while simultaneously expecting that half to keep working like slaves to fund a lifestyle for the other half. And the coping industrial complex is working overtime now. Therapists are booked solid with women who cannot figure out why they feel so empty, despite having everything they were told to want. Dating coaches are making millions teaching women how to rewire men's brains because the old manipulation tricks stopped working. Pastors are giving emergency sermons about covenant marriage, while their own congregations are full of women who spent their 20s treating men like disposable entertainment. Politicians are holding emergency panels about the collapsing birth rate while refusing to admit the obvious cause. Everybody is screaming about symptoms, and nobody wants to name the disease. The disease is very simple. When you punish a behavior long enough, the behavior goes away. When you reward dysfunction long enough, you get more dysfunction. When you tell men for 50 straight years that everything natural about them is toxic and then act shocked when those same men decide to take their toxicity somewhere else far away from you. You do not get to cry victim when the protection, provision, and stability evaporate overnight. And I want you to picture something with me. Picture a small town in America, any town 20 years ago. In that town, there were men who woke up at 5 in the morning to go work construction, or log trees, or fix power lines in the rain, or drive trucks across the country. Men who coached Little League after working 10-hour shifts. Men who plowed snow at 3 a.m. so the school buses could run. Men who quietly paid the bill when the single mom at the diner was short. Men who would stop on the side of the highway to help a stranger change a tire in the freezing cold. Men who never got a thank you, never got a parade, never got a viral video, but they did it anyway because that is what men do. And now picture that same town today. Those men are still there, but something is different. They still wake up at 5, but now they are day trading crypto before the sun comes up, or running an online business from their kitchen table, or working remote for a company that pays them double what the factory used to. They still coach Little League, but only for their brother's kid or their best friend's son, not the random kid whose mother never learned his name. They still stop to help with a flat tire, but only if the driver is another man or an elderly person, definitely not the 28-year-old with the ring light smirk and the boss babe stickers all over her Subaru. These men did not become evil. They did not lose their character. They simply applied the same risk reward calculation to personal relationships that they apply to everything else in life. And the math no longer works. The cost is infinite, the reward is temporary at best and catastrophic at worst, and the downside protection is zero. Any rational investor pulls out of an asset like that and never looks back. And pulling out is exactly what we did. We pulled our attention out of the endless validation machine. We pulled our money out of the bottomless lifestyle pit. We pulled our emotional labor out of relationships that only used it as ammunition. We pulled our physical presence out of spaces where we were automatically assumed to be threats. We pulled our future children out of a society that would teach them to hate themselves for existing. We pulled everything out, folded it up neatly, put it in our own pockets, and walked away without raising our voice. And we have not looked back once. And that is why you no longer see men arguing with women online anymore. We stopped completely. There is nothing to argue about. You believe what you believe. We believe what direct observation and pattern recognition have proven a million times over. And never the twain shall meet again. We are not trying to convince you. We are not trying to wake you up. We are not trying to save you. We are busy living better lives than we have ever lived while you figure out how to pay the electric bill without a cosigner. The silence is deafening, isn't it? That is the sound of millions of men choosing peace over chaos, freedom over chains, self respect over performance. That silence is the sound of the most powerful boycott in human history, and it is only getting louder every single day. Women are now experiencing something brand new in their lives: consequences, real, Adult, irreversible consequences for decades of choices. And the coping is reaching levels of absurdity that would be comedy gold if it wasn't so tragic. They are blaming porn, blaming video games, blaming Andrew Tate, blaming Joe Rogan, blaming the patriarchy, whatever that means this week, blaming literally anything except the one thing that actually responsible, their own behavior and the cultural messages they amplified for half a century. But blame does not pay rent. Blame does not fix the car. Blame does not keep the heat on in February. Blame does not make a baby when the biological clock hits zero. Blame does not soothe the emptiness that comes from realizing the party is over and all the guys who used to clean up after the party have left the building and locked the door behind them. I need you to understand something that almost nobody is willing to say out loud because it is too brutal, but it is the core truth driving everything you are seeing right now. The vast majority of modern women have priced themselves out of the only market that ever actually wanted them. They spent their youth and beauty chasing the top 5% of men, riding the excitement carousel until the music stopped, accumulating baggage and trauma and cats and wine habits and therapy bills. And now they are trying to sell that used up package to the very men they rejected when those men were broke and awkward and trying their hardest. And those men are politely, calmly, permanently saying no thank you. That is not hate. That is not bitterness. That is not revenge. That is self respect. That is boundaries. That is the bare minimum adult maturity. You do not get to treat men like garbage for 20 years and then demand they line up to wife you up at 35 when the wall arrives and the options dry up. The market has spoken, and the market says your value proposition is no longer competitive. Harsh? Yes. Reality? Also, yes. And reality does not care about your feelings, your follower count, your degree, your girl boss affirmations, or the mental gymnastics you perform to avoid accountability. Reality only cares about what you bring to the table today, not what you brought in 2015 when the power dynamic was reversed. And what most women are bringing to the table today is debt, demands, distrust, and drama with a side of entitlement and a sprinkle of victimhood. That is not a meal any man with options is going to pay for. And and the men with options now are the exact men who spent years building themselves up while being told they were worthless. So they have the options because they earned the options the hard way in silence while everybody was laughing at them. So when those men look at the current dating market and see what is being offered, they do not feel sadness. They do not feel anger. They feel relief, deep soul level relief that they dodged the bullet that destroyed so many of their friends. They look at their married buddies who cannot breathe without asking permission, and they thank God they stayed single. They look at the divorce horror stories and they buy another piece of land instead of a ring. They look at the single mothers demanding six-figure men to play stepdaddy and they laugh so hard they almost cry because the joke is on everybody who thought male nature could be shamed, legislated, medicated, or therapized out of existence. Male nature did not go anywhere. It just went underground for a while, and now it has reemerged in its purest, most refined form. Peaceful, focused, self-prioritizing, and completely immune to female tears. We are not broken. We are rebuilt, stronger, calmer, richer, healthier, happier, and freer than any generation of men in recorded history. And we did it by doing absolutely nothing except stopping the behaviors that were destroying us. That is the ultimate red pill flex, winning by walking away. The final stage of this awakening is the quietest and the most unstoppable. It is the stage where men stop explaining, stop debating, stop justifying, stop caring what anyone thinks. We simply live. We wake up every day and choose ourselves first, second, and last. And we do it without apology, without announcement, without needing a parade. That is the stage Most men watching this video are either already in or are one decision away from entering. And once you cross that line, there is no force on earth that can pull you back. I want you to imagine the next 10 years. Really imagine it. Not the fantasy version the media sells you, but the version that is already unfolding in real time. Millions more men will continue walking away every single year. The dating apps will become ghost towns for anyone over 28. Marriage rates will keep plummeting until they are statistically irrelevant. Birth rates will fall so low that governments will start offering literal cash bounties for babies, and even that will not be enough because men will look at the deal, raise a child in a system that teaches him to hate himself, with a woman who can take the kid and half your money the moment she gets bored, and they will still say no thanks. Cities will slowly empty of young men. They will move to smaller towns, to the country, to land they bought cheap with money they never spent on dates or divorces. They will build compounds with their brothers, gyms in garages, gardens in backyards, crypto nodes in basements, gun safes in bedrooms. They will form tribes again, real tribes, not the fake social media kind. Tribes of men who have each other's backs without needing anything in return except loyalty. Women will call these places man camps and mock them, right up until the power goes out in winter. And those same man camps are the only places with generators, firewood, food, and armed men who know how to use them. The passport bro phenomenon will explode from a trickle to a flood. Not the cringe sex tourism version the media loves to show, but quiet, high value men moving to countries where femininity was never demonized, where women still smile at men in public, where family law does not treat men like walking ATMs. Those men will not post about it. They will not argue online. They will simply disappear from the West and build lives so good that the only evidence you will see is the occasional vacation photos with beautiful, happy women who look at them like they hung the moon. Back home, the women who spent their 20s believing the lie will hit their 30s and 40s with nothing but regrets and cats and screenshots of text messages from men who pumped and dumped them in 2019. They will make more crying videos. They will write more articles about how men have failed them. They will demand more government programs, more corporate benefits, more corporate handouts, anything to avoid admitting the obvious truth. They were sold a fantasy. They lived the fantasy. They destroyed the men who tried to make the fantasy real. And now the fantasy is over and reality is here to collect the bill. And through all of it, the men who walked away will keep thriving. We will keep getting stronger, richer, calmer, happier. We will keep lifting, stacking, building, learning, traveling, fishing, hunting, gaming, praying, meditating, and sleeping like kings. We will keep our money, our time, our seed, our peace, and our power. And we will do it all in complete silence because explaining yourself to people who never listened in the first place is a waste of breath. That silence is going to be the loudest sound the world has ever heard. It is the sound of an entire gender refusing to be enslaved again. It is the sound of millions of men saying, with their actions instead of their words, we are done sacrificing for people who hate us. It is the sound of freedom ringing so clearly that even the people who tried to chain us can hear it from miles away. And when historians look back on this moment, they will not call it the end of men. They will call it the Great Male Renaissance, the moment men stopped asking for permission to exist and started living on their own terms. The moment we took back everything that was stolen from us, our time, our money, our peace, our purpose, our future, and decided those things were worth more than any amount of sex, validation, or conditional love. This is not revenge. This is restoration. This is men returning to our natural state, calm, focused, strong, free. Women had their turn running the show for 50 years, and they turned society into a circus of chaos, debt, and despair. Now men are running our own lives, and we are turning them into fortresses of peace, strength, and abundance. The difference is night and day. So if you're a man watching this and you are still on the fence, still thinking maybe there is a good one out there, still thinking if you just become perfect enough, she will finally love you the way you deserve, let me save you years of pain right now. There is no unicorn. There is no magical woman who will love you for who you are instead of what you can do for her. That woman does not exist in 2025 Western culture, and she will not exist in 2035 either. The culture that could produce her has been demolished, and the women it produced are the ones crying on TikTok right now. Your piece is waiting for you on the other side of even one decision, the decision to stop. Stop chasing, stop paying, stop explaining, stop performing, stop caring. Just stop. Walk away. Not in anger, not in hate. Walk away in love. Love for yourself, love for your future, love for the man you were always meant to become before the world tried to break you into something useful to everyone except you. The moment you make that decision, the moment you choose yourself over the chaos, everything changes. Your bank account starts growing. Your body starts healing. Your mind starts clearing. Your sleep gets deep. Your joy comes back. Your power returns. And you realize with a clarity that almost knocks you over that you never needed them in the first place. You only thought you did because they spent your entire life telling you that you did. You were lied to. We all were. But the lie is over now. The truth is here. And the truth is liberating millions of men every single day. So go. Walk away. Build your fortress. Stack your money. Lift your weights. Deepen your faith. Strengthen your brotherhood. Live your life like the main character for the first time ever. And when people ask you why you are single, why you are so calm, why you are so happy, just smile and say, I'm good. Because you are. You are better than good. You are free. And freedom, brothers, is the one thing no one can ever take from you again. What did you think about all of this? Do you agree? Are you already walking away? Or are you taking your first steps today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.